This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And oh, look at that. We've already got that changed and updated. And look at that. I didn't even have to clown around for 5-10 minutes to try and get that going for you. Big news today again, right? James Neal cleared waivers for the Oilers. And then, of course, you have the news of Bear and Bouchard being paired together on the blue line for the Oilers at practice this morning. But what's missing from all of that, and as requested, is the Oilers' forward lines. And do something useful. Oh, I'm going to give you a lot more than useful in this one. What I'm going to do is break down exactly why we're looking at what we're looking at and why it will stay for the next foreseeable few games here. So we've been missing Zach Kassian for 2 games now since he probably broke his hand against Eric Branson in that fight against Ottawa way back when he got called out. That feels like a year ago already, and it's only been less than a week, it seems. So that said, we don't need to panic too much. What we do need to talk about, though, is the fact that for the Oilers, we find ourselves kind of sitting in things are getting changed often, but starting to cement themselves in a way that the Oilers would really like to have seen happen after maybe game 3 or 4 as opposed to game 12, 13, 14 as we're now seeing. So for the Oilers, RNH McDavid Puljujarvi has been an incredible line. I think I've seen a couple analytics things that they're a top 5 line in the NHL right now. Obviously, McDavid should always be in the top 5 of the NHL, no matter who his line mates are. But to see Jesse Puljujarvi, who was a big time question mark coming into the season, up there on the top 5, and to see Nugent Hopkins minus Draisaitl and Yamamoto up there in the top 5 as well. That is solid. That is awesome to see. And it really speaks volumes to what the Oilers want to do with their top 6, right? They wanted to spread out RNH, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto just simply because whoever's line RNH was on, that became the top line between McDavid and Draisaitl. And I think more so to the face of the NHL situation where McDavid needs to be considered the top tier player on the Oilers, giving him Nugent Hopkins, giving him Puljujarvi, who has all the hype, really allows that to fully take effect across the NHL, as opposed to everybody across the NHL talking about how dynamite the second line is between Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Yamamoto. Maybe that's just me reading a little bit too much into it, but that's my feeling there, is it was really something, a concerted effort by the Oilers to try and go out there and establish that the Oilers don't necessarily have a 1 line, but they have a 1A, 1B, and McDavid is the 1A, despite Draisaitl just absolutely destroying things at 5-on-5 this season. We already talked about how much he's dominating 5-on-5 yesterday, and of course doing what he's doing on the penalty kill and so forth. But what you found is, you know what, yeah, great. You've made McDavid's line the impact line out there in the top 6, and then Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Kahun can really go out there and just do their game. Well, what we didn't exactly know early on in the season is that Dominik Kahun was going to be just another version of Kailer Yamamoto, except for lefty shot instead of righty shot. That is just the mind-boggling part, and whether it be Jack Michaels, whether it be Louis DeBrusk, whether it be Bob Stauffer, whoever you listen to when it comes to the Oilers and they talk about Dominik Kahun during a game, they all say the same thing. Draisaitl has 2 guys willing to throw themselves into a battle, willing to do whatever it takes in that battle to come up with the puck and really create chances. And especially, it's not like Kahun's not talented, not like Yamamoto's not talented, and my goodness, don't forget about Draisaitl. So you think about what's happened the past couple games here where the Oilers' depth has really come up clutch for them. Kara, Ennis, and Archibald on that third line, and suddenly, yeah, you've got yourself a top 6 poised to break out, doing all the things right. Puljujarvi's back in the lineup tomorrow, and suddenly, yeah, things are looking very good for the Edmonton Oilers, just like they should have off the start of the season. But it's taken that evolution, right? You had to get Jesse Puljujarvi back, adjusted to the NHL game, get him up and started, and then get him wanting more, and then give him more, which has now happened. You've got to get Kahun, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto to figure it out and mesh together? Well, it took Cahoon being Yamamoto on the left side to do it, but hey, that looks very effective all of a sudden, especially with Cahoon scoring. Ennis, Kara, and Archibald coming together out of almost nowhere to form this line that's now on Twitter being dubbed the nitty-gritty dirt line, which is looking absolutely solid for us. And then now you've got the complication of the taxi squad and the guys you've got on the taxi squad, and this isn't necessarily a problem. This is where it gets fun, right? We've covered the top 4 lines that Oilers practiced this morning, all in through this little monologue I've had to start this video. But now let's get it going into where the real discussion is. The top 3 lines, so long as they keep performing the way they have, will not be touched at bare minimum until Zach Kassian is back. However, I would not expect them to be touched at all should they continue strongly playing throughout this time without Kassian. Now you get into that Shore Turris Chiasson lineup. Well, yeah, you know what? It's pretty simple. You move Chiasson out for Zach Kassian and you're changing nothing from nothing because, yeah, you know what? You allow either Cahoon out there on the top power play, you either allow Yamamoto out there, you allow some room for Ennis or Archibald, or maybe even Jujhar Khaira. You allow one of those third line guys who have been going to work for you the past 2 games, reward them with a great opportunity on the power play, and now all of a sudden you see how things change. Obviously, you've got Khaira killing penalties, Archibald killing penalties, a couple guys in the top 6 killing penalties between RNH, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto, and suddenly, okay, all right, we're good. Turris, don't forget about him. But realistically, the only room the Oilers have to make adjustments at current going into tomorrow night's game against the Winnipeg Jets, should they not hold up these practice lines, is simply the 4th line. I think every single one of those guys at this point is interchangeable for any of the 4 guys below. You can't forget what Patrick Russell did in his game this season, where he went to work and got that assist, and it was a big one for the Oilers just to see some depth guys get on the score sheet at that point of the season. We were crying for it. We got it with Patrick Russell. You'd love to see Gaetan Haas get in the lineup and get him going at some point this season. He's brought some good things before getting injured after getting back. And then Nygaard, yeah, you know what? We'd love to see more out of him because I don't think any of us have ever been satisfied with what we've seen out of him because we know there's more to him than just what we've seen to this point of his Oilers career. And James Neal, obviously you're not paying $5.75 million to sit here and watch a guy not do anything for you on the taxi squad. So no duh, we'd love to watch Mr. James Neal go out there and play some hockey for us, for sure, absolutely. And so they still haven't on Cap Friendly changed James Neal all this time later. It's now 12:30 as opposed to 10 a.m. in the morning. We'd like to see James Neal on the taxi squad to see what the cap savings are, but I guess we're not going to be that lucky quite yet, but we'll get there eventually, I'm sure. So, right, there's a lot to be said about this Oilers team and how it can stack up, but at this current moment, what looks like a foregone conclusion is the fact that you only have 3 guys in the lineup going into Winnipeg's game where you can interchange them. And especially when you have an Archibald, Khaira, Shore, Turris, Chiasson in your bottom 6, that's normally 5 guys. Right now, ooh, good burgers. Right now, that's only 3 guys between Shore, Turris, and Chiasson. And I actually think, despite coming in on a PTO, Shore being a penalty killer as well when needed, I think he's not interchangeable. So Turris and Chiasson are interchangeable for either Neal, Haas, or Patrick Russell. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts because this is getting interesting, right? The defense is a whole nother discussion that we've already had, but as it currently stands, this is fun for us Oilers fans because for whatever reason, it's taken a while, but the Oilers are coming together and meshing and actually, finally, looking like a real team that could be a heck of a lot of fun to watch the next 5-10 games because that could really determine where we start going over the course of the rest of the season. And it all starts with this lineup we see in front of us tweeted out by Bob Stauffer this morning. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in this morning, this afternoon, and all throughout the day if you continue to. What I'll recommend right now is there's going to be a couple of videos that pop up here. If you're missing anything out of the 4 that pop up, consider checking it out. And if you want to check out that Hockey Fights playlist, that's always a great time. That's a blast from the past in Tyson Dolynny history, so you can check that out. But I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here.